Hey, you. Yes, you. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, is this all there is? Is this all I can do? Well, I'm here to tell you that there is nothing you can't do. In fact, everything you've ever wanted is already within you. Today, we're diving into the incredible power of your thoughts and how they're already shaping your life. So let's break down the limits you've placed that we all place on ourselves, to be honest. And remember that life isn't that serious. So if you're ready to step into the power that is already within you, this is the episode for you. Welcome to Wandering the Wild Mess with Heather Morgan. I am so happy that you're here. I'm going to start this one off saying this is a real big shift for me in wanting to kind of remind you, my favorite people in the world, those that are called here to listen to my wild mess, an episode that's near and dear to my heart that I want to kind of share with you is why there's nothing you cannot do. Through this really journey of all this self-discovery for me, and what I kind of continue to hone in on is that letting go of what we thought our life should look like. And I think when we do that, we start to realize that we create it every day on the way we view things. So really our power lies in our thoughts, because every thought shapes our reality. And I was listening to this book, or actually I think it was a podcast, and by Joe Dispenza, and he was talking about your personality is your personal reality. And when you think about it, it really determines your whole life is your personality, right? So when we start deciding that we're a certain way and we let all of these outside voices or what we think that people expect of us to kind of dictate, then our thoughts say, oh, I can't do that and I can't do this because I'm this way or I'm that way. And that's when we start to limit ourselves from really being able to do whatever we want to do. And this all really comes so forward to me in my life because I realized that when I decided that I was going to move to Tennessee, which I continue to bring up because it's just really was just such a wild thought at one point. Like I was talking to the guy that I told, don't fall in love with me, I'm moving to Tennessee, right? Way back before, when it was literally like, I think that was the first time I had even said it out loud, really. And it was just like, well, I said it, so I'm doing it now. And I think a lot of times there's so much power in our thoughts and then speaking them out loud that you're just like, I guess I have to figure it out now. I guess I'm doing this. And the other realization I had, I mean, I know there's moments in our life where we all say things that oh, I want to do this, and then we don't do it. But I think it's because we let the noise become too loud of what are people going to think? Am I that talented? Am I this? Am I that? And we let those drown out the desire. But what I realized going through this whole journey is that not everyone has the same desires. Like there's some people that want to do things that they don't even cross my mind. And not because they're right or they're wrong, right? Everyone just has such a unique journey. And so if something's in your heart, like that you want to do, whatever it is, that's unique to you. You have that for a reason. And obviously there's overlap. Like there's a lot of people with a podcast, right? But not everybody wants a podcast. I have friends, there's no desire for them to have a podcast. Where I have other friends of mine that they're doing they want to be like a makeup and bag influencer and like curate cute outfits. And I love clothes, but I would not want to do like New York fashion clothes stuff. That would never be something I would want. But it'd be perfect for her, right? And so I think that that's just one of those things where we kind of have to realize that ever if it's in your mind or a thought in your head that you want to do it, you can. That's the simple answer. Nothing is impossible. And so many times I feel like we just live a smaller life than we would have to if we just rolled with it and believed that anything that we wanted to do, we could do. I guess that's what it broke down to. And I'll give this example I heard because I feel like we can all relate to this person. And this is not like putting down this, this podcast is for everyone. But this really just like locked it into me on when I had to remember that I could do anything. So someone was talking about when you think you can't do something, visualize the Chad bro, the Chad. This Chad guy that's just like, he can do nothing wrong. In his mind, he's just like, what would Chad do? Literally, he wouldn't need to be qualified. He just has this like confidence that like, sure, I'll figure it out. I'm doing it. And it's just like this attitude of like, I don't care. I'm Chad. I can do it. There's not a doubt in Chad's mind. He's just, who I'm talking about. That kind of guy, that kind of person is who I aspire to be. That delusional that no matter what I want to do in this life, I can because I'm Chad. Because Chad, he's not worried about being qualified. He's not worried about having enough money. He's not worried about looking stupid. He's not worried about getting rejected. He doesn't even have those thoughts. And I know y'all know who I'm talking about in your head. You can visualize that person. We can all be Chad. We can all do whatever we want. We can. And if you're right now, I know you can think of that Chad person in your head. So there's no reason why you can't be him unless you want to think about a lot of reasons. But again, that's you making excuses, not to be rude. I'm not judging. I get it. We're all different paths and all parts of our journey. But at the end of the day, whatever we want to do is possible for us. And it took me not knowing how I was going to do a lot of things to realize that I really could do whatever I wanted my whole life. And I'm just now tapping in to the power that is within all of us, those abilities to just do whatever we want to do and not be so concerned about how we look doing it or what other people might think. If I'm honest and looking back, I probably prevented myself from a lot of wonderful opportunities or experiences being too worried about what other people thought of me. And you know, I'm fine with it now because that was just my life and it is what it is and we learn. But I want to inspire you to not take that same path where you get hung up on doing an action because you're like, what will people perceive this as? Because one, I'll tell you, most people don't even really care what you're doing. Like they're like doing their own life. They've got too much going on. They're not like, oh, I wonder what Sam's posting, or I wonder why Sam, no one really cares that much. And the people that do, I mean, that's about them, obviously, but also I don't know why they care so much. Like they need to get more going on in their life. And that's not rude. It's just like, why would you even care that much? Because I don't know why you would even care. And if you just don't like it, which is fine, not everyone's for everyone, then they can just stop following you if it's on Instagram or social media, or they could just not hang out with you anymore. And that's also fine. And I don't know why we want to like protect ourselves from losing people that don't want to be in our lives anyways. If we're not being like genuine, if there's something that we want to do and we're thinking if we do it, then other people aren't going to like us or won't want to follow us or won't want to see us, why would we want those people to see us? Why do we want those people in our life in the first place? those people are the people that are preventing us from doing what we want to do because we're worried about what those people are going to think. So those aren't even the kind of people we want in our lives. And I have to remind myself of that when I'm thinking about things that I do, because really at the end of the day, it's just what I want to do. Literally, that's it. If I'm doing things with integrity and I have kindness and I mean well, like I don't know why I let so many things overwhelm me with like, what if this? What if that? And I have to remind myself, like, what if it all works out? That's the better question. And I know there's things called fear of success. So I get that. It's something that we have to work through. There's like two sides to the coin. There's a lot of things. But when you are finally willing to go, there is absolutely nothing that I can't do. Gosh, it feels nice to think like that, because I don't know whoever told us there was things we can't do. I go back to this again, like when we were a kid, you were just like the world was your oyster, like you could do whatever you want, and then you get like conditioned to think and programmed that there was only certain things you were good at. But you can be good at anything if you love it. Right? I mean, don't get me wrong, there's people that are naturally better at things, like, some people pick up a guitar, and the first time they play it, they're amazing. But then there's other people that just practice and practice, and they're just as good, and then they become successful either way because maybe for whatever reason, that passion to push themselves to learn something that didn't naturally come to them outshines someone that was just naturally good at it. And so there's really no limitations to our abilities in life except for our own mind. We are the ones that decide what we can and can't do. Just us. Nobody else. Nobody's here. Nobody's at my house like, no, you can't. You can't cook a steak on the cast iron. You don't know how to do that. You can't. No one's saying that. Like, I mean, that's kind of a dumb example, but you know what I'm saying. No one's telling us what we can and can't do in our lives. And maybe I feel this way a little bit more right now because I'm doing life alone. But I kind of love that piece for me because I get to really hone into what I want to do with life. And I want to kind of like take you back to that time when you did feel like you could do whatever you wanted. And just let you let go of the pressure that you have to have everything figured out. Remember how you don't have everything figured out in life in general, but you keep getting up every day and it keeps working out and life keeps going? That's like that thing you want to do. You just start doing it and then you just figure it out along the way. That's how it works. If it's in your mind and it's like continually there and you keep thinking, I really want to do that, and you're not doing that, then you're kind of letting yourself down. You know, like that little self of yours that was like, hey, I want to do this. And you're like being that like older person and saying like, no, we can't do that. And your little person's like, but I want to, like, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. And they're like, no, we can't do that. We can't do that. That's too hard. That's too much. That's too this. That's too. You're like being that grown up telling your inner self that you can't do something that you truly want to do. Why are you doing that to you? Why are you being that? Why are you not allowing that inside, whatever it is that you want to do? You want to soup up that truck. You want to like move somewhere new. You want to buy that cabin. You want whatever. I don't even know. Everyone has the different things they want to do, which is really cool. Like when I talk to people and they have things that I would never even cross my mind of like wanting to do, but they want to do it. But then they have some excuse or reason like, oh, I got too old, or I had a kid, or I got divorced, or I met this guy, or, you know, and it's like, those like stopping you from still doing something you want to do? Is that like how life works? Like you can only do one thing, or you know, like if it's still a desire of yours, why can't you do it? Because I'll tell you one thing that I truly believe is that we were not put here to just go day in and day out doing mediocre things that don't fuel our soul. That's not what this was about. So, whatever you believe in, I've said before, I'm a Christian, is how I identify, but I am one with no judgment. So, whatever feels good for you and makes you want to be a better, happier person, it's fine by me. But I can tell you, whatever you believe in, regardless of what it is, you have to hopefully realize that we're not just here to play it safe and just do the bare minimum and not have our soul lit on fire with joy and happiness and excitement. There's just not no way. And I say all that because I strongly believe that if something is planted in your heart, there's a reason that you do it and you share that joy with the world. And that is like how you give back to this whole experience that we're living. So I'll give an example I think about to kind of just put it into perspective, even if it's small. So I had this guy in my life for a minute, and one thing that he was like really passionate about was like maybe being like a fishing guide, like to be like, to be on the water all the time and help people and teach them how to fish. And obviously there's like, if you have a normal job, there's like some logistics to that. Like, am I going to live on a boat? Like, how do I do it? Got to start this business, da, da, da. And you think about it and you're like, okay, well, whatever. He just wants to be a fishing guide, whatever. But me, in my head, I'm like, have you ever done something where you're like getting guided by someone that loves it so much? And they're like teaching you this thing, like whatever it is, like bait the hook, where you can get the best fish, like that. And the joy that they have in telling you all their knowledge because this is like the thing they love to do and they're just doing it. And you're there and you're like, yeah, of course. And they just know everything. I went on like a guided trip when I was in Key West, I remember, and just seeing how happy the people were that got to do that job every day. They're like, this is my life. I love this. Even me, I like to fish, don't get me wrong. That's not what I would wanna do for my job, like, per se, like, but I would love to be on a boat all the time, but I'm saying, like, that's not my expertise. But even the energy of just being around someone that just loves what they're doing, it just brings, like, a happiness and light to the world that needs to exist, if that makes sense. It just gives off, like, you're sharing your passion and your knowledge with the world. And that to me is even like music. When someone's like has a really good voice or they're a really good guitar player and you get to sit there and you're like, I love music. I'm not a singer, but like hearing this person sing, it just puts my heart like so happy because they are so good at it and they love it and they're doing it. Nashville reminds me of that all the time because these people are doing what they love. And it's just even talking about it just inspires me with happiness because I think we're here to do things we love. And I'm not saying you can't have like a 9 to 5 and a side hustle. Like some people really enjoy their jobs. I have a friend that's a nurse but she works for a nonprofit and the kind of things that she does and helps people in certain ways, like that is what she loves to do. So it doesn't even have to be that. But and it's not even necessarily a job. Like you could have a job that you're just like doing that's fine, but you still have this other little calling that you just maybe push aside because you're like, I don't have time for that. But we all should make the time for us to feel that kind of like passion and joy for something in our life and find that thing. Because I'll tell you, it's so much easier to love yourself and your life when what you're doing makes you happy. And a lot of us just go through the motions of life and there's just no purpose to it. or so it feels. And there is a purpose for all of us. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying if you don't feel that joy, you don't have a purpose, because you absolutely do. But if you feel like you're not finding joy and purpose, it's time to, because you deserve to. And there's nothing that you cannot do. Like, you're already enough just as you are. You already have all the answers. You already know what you want to do. I can't tell you. You already know. And this is likely coming through your mind, like, what's that thing? And I'm sure that if you're listening, something and whatever you want to do has already came in your mind. You know what it is. We all have that in our hearts. But it's believing in ourselves enough to know that we can do that thing. And I know some people are like, I do have a friend that's like, I just don't really know what I want to do. But I don't think you have to know like the whole plan. I don't think you have to even know every last step. But maybe even peeling the layers back, like, what brings me the most joy? And really why this topic is so important to me and what I'm trying to hone in for you is that when we do the things that fill us with the most joy, when we live out our purpose, when we do those things, like, we're just a happier person all around, which pays dividends to everyone else around us because they get to experience that. They get to feel that happiness radiate from you. And then when people see that, I mean, there are people that want to dim your light, so you have to be aware of that. But most people just want to feel like that too. And so you can be a form of inspiration for other people when you just lead with the happiness that you find in doing the things that you enjoy. Like, when I'm hiking, I feel like there's nothing I'm happier doing. I'm just I'm just happy to be there. And when I'm writing, I'm happy. When I'm yapping on this podcast, guess what I am? A happy yapper. And it's not tied to anything other than just what I love to do. And it was so hard and scary for me to start it. And then here I am and I have a podcast. Like, if I would be like, I can't do that, I would be taking myself and depriving myself from the joy that this feels. I feel like I'm like spitting it up on this mic right now. I'm just so passionate. But like, point of the story is I would be taking this joy away from me. So if you're listening, you know I sound happy because I am. I'm happy doing this right now. But it took me months to even really do it because I wanted to build up all this fear and say, like, I can't do it. Like, I don't know how. I don't know. Like, I gave myself every excuse in the book not to do it until I was like, I'm doing it. And now I'm so happy and I don't want to ever stop. It's really at that point where I love it so much. And I want you to have that feeling about whatever you want to do in your life. I'll tell you something really cool before I wrap this up, but I hope you're feeling inspired. So I had met this girl in November last year at this like kind of like this podcast thing, and we were all yapping and I started talking to her and she said, "Yeah, I really want to start a podcast too." And I was like, "You should. What's stopping you?" And she kind of stopped and was like, and I wasn't judging because don't get me wrong, I know I needed a kick in the pants before I started my podcast. But then I was just kind of like, now here I am. So I want to, inspire someone too. So she couldn't really answer the question. And I was like, just do it. I didn't know what I was doing either. Like, da 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 da. It'll be fine. You'll figure it out along the way. Like, if it's calling you, if it's something you really want to do, you should do it. Blah, blah, blah. Fast forward, I just saw her last week and she had just launched and recorded her first 2 podcast episodes. And she was so excited. I told her, "I'm so proud of you." And she said, "Well, you inspired me. You asked me the question, why didn't I start? And I like, what's stopping you?" And I didn't have a reason. And it made me so happy because I'm just so proud of her. And just to even be a little piece of the reason why she did something that she wanted to do makes me so happy. And so actually next week I'm going to be on her podcast, which I'm really excited about because it's really just full circle. And it's so kind of her to want me to yap on hers as well. And so I'll definitely share those details when that drops. But because you'll have to follow along with her. She's just such a great soul. And again, it's just you don't know who you're inspiring by your own actions. And if you're, like whatever it is, I mean, even looking at my life now, you know, I'm inspiring my own mom. She's like, "When did you become that smart? Like, when did you do all those things?" And I'm the child. So whether you're like a parent and you want your kids to see that they can go after their dreams with a real life example of you doing it, or it's to inspire your parents that there's never too old to do whatever they want to do. Like we don't have a timeline on when we can stop having fun or when we can go on adventures or when we can try things or when we can do things. There's never a point in time that you expire. That's not how it works. And I refuse to believe that in my own head. You know how delusional I am. But there is never a time. The time that you want to do it is the perfect time. And it doesn't matter about anything else that has happened in your life up until that point. The time is now. That's all we have. So, whatever you want to do, I hope you can take from this that there's no need to prove anything to anyone but yourself. Do what you want to do for you. All you need to do is keep showing up as your authentic self, being who you want to be, and it will guide you to what you're meant to be. I know it will. I feel like I'm just like preaching, but really I'm going to wrap it by just saying I challenge you to look at what's holding you back. What's holding you back from what you really want from life? And what have you been thinking about that's been limiting yourself from believing you can reach that potential? Because we have to let those things go. And when we do, just watch what happens next. When we stop giving excuses and we start deciding that that noise doesn't matter, that those thoughts aren't serving us, that none of it matters at all. And I know I keep saying I'm going to wrap this up, but I have some exciting stuff coming and I want to tell you something really cool I did actually to end this because I would love it if you found the time to do the same for you because I feel like it would help. But a couple weeks ago, I sat on the couch alone. Been on DND a lot lately, just reading and writing and all the things. And I wrote down all of my limiting beliefs, meaning any thoughts that I had that were preventing me from being who I truly want, who I truly am, who I will become, who I am becoming, who I am, whatever. And so I wrote them all down. And it was like really it was just a lot, because I was really diving deep into all of these thoughts that I felt like were holding me back. And so I write them all down and I'm talking to ChatGPT, my bestie, and that can be for another time. And I say, "Okay, I've written all these beliefs down. I'm going to give them to you and then I want you to tell me my new beliefs. Help me curate those new beliefs in the replace of these ones that are no longer mine." So I put them all in there and ChatGPT comes back with all my new beliefs. And so I take my list that I had handwritten, I go to my backyard, I get a lighter, and I burn those old beliefs up in flames, baby. And after that, I came back in the house and I wrote down all of the new beliefs, wrote them from ChatGPT that counteracted the limiting beliefs that were holding me back. And when we allow ourselves to say that I'm not holding on to that old mentality anymore or those thoughts that are holding me back, I don't have to. They're not my identity. They were just thoughts that I had that I want to release and let go of. And then we find new ones to program our mind to believe. Just like anything else, everything that we have believed up until this point was because we were told it, we read it, we felt it in somewhere or another. So we can take any of those things and remove them and replace them with better things. We just have to make the choice that we want to do that and we see the value in that and take the time to do it. So I challenge you to put down all those thoughts that aren't serving you and let them go away for good and replace them with new ones that allow you to do what I know you can do, anything that you want. Thanks so much for listening. As always, visit www. It feels like so weird to say it like that. wanderingthewildmess.com. You can get my affirmation cards there. It's words, but also rate the pod for me if you would, because I feel like that is something I need to be asking more. And since I can do anything, I'm asking y'all to subscribe to my YouTube, put a review on the pod, anything like that. If this helps you at all, tell me what you think about this whole idea about burning your old thoughts and writing your new ones down. I would just love to hear from you. All right. Well, thank you again for listening to Wandering the Wild Mess with Heather Morgan. You matter.